At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger, back in the swing of things after a conference over the weekend. Had Chase filling in for me. We had Aurora on Monday, which is going to be a regular occurrence now. She will be doing Mondays for me here at Weather NorCal, while I can take care of some behind-the-scene things. And, things are getting a little busy here at Weather NorCal, getting more sponsors, got to make sure they're happy. We've got things that we got to get going with different special segments. And, it's just kind of nice to get a little breather from doing the forecast here. So you will see me Tuesdays through Fridays. And then eventually we're hoping to get Aurora on full-time, and we'll both be working a 5-day work week. So enjoying the little break while I can. Hey, by the way, I want to remind you that we got the 21st annual bike drive. And, it's a great program. This is for kids in need that just don't have access to a lot of things we had when we were kids. Like, remember bikes? Yeah, bikes were kind of that your world, really, at least for me. I remember my bike it took me everywhere, and we used to explore. So you can drop off bikes for kids in needs at Starbucks, 4641 Churn Creek Road, Budget Blinds out there in East Reading, Youth and Family Programs, 2770 Pioneer Drive, the AAA on 943 Mission de Oro Drive, Dill's Deli on Caterpillar Road, and Wheelman Club of Reading, excuse me. So you can drop off, these need to be new bikes. They prefer new bikes. You can either assemble them or they'll assemble them for you. Take them to these drop-off locations through December 24th, and you can brighten up a kid's holiday. All right, let's take a look at this. Now, this is actually a photo from November 24th, but this is just a representation of the fog that we've been seeing here for the last several weeks. Now, this is a little unusual for us, but for our neighbors to the south, Sacramento, down into places like the San Joaquin Valley, this is nothing unusual. So here you can see all the fog that this is looking over Chico. It's really a spectacular sight, but when you're kind of caught in it, it's not so spectacular, is it? By the way, I want to thank everyone for sharing their photos. You can share those from the free Weather NorCal app on your iPhone and your Android. So the visibility, it has dropped. We've been seeing visibility in the valley as low as 1/4 to 1/2 mile to 3/4 to even a little over a mile. It just depends. We've also seen some fog for some of those mountain valleys as well. A lot of the mountain valley fog is expected to burn off as we go through the morning hours. And I think even places like Reading, like yesterday, may see that fog burn off as well. We take you out to Red Bluff. There you can see some of the low clouds there. And, you've got that difference of it kind of lifting in just kind of a gray day where the visibility is still okay. But sometimes that fog really gets down to the surface, and that's when you see the lowest visibility. And that's when you really start to see that dense fog. So here's what we've got. Morning valley fog with areas of clearing. And I do expect to see fog in those mountain valleys, fog along the coast, and that fog could also bring, along the coast at least, some light rain and some drizzle. With a warming trend this week, possibly, just depends on the valley seeing that clearing. In fact, parts of the valley could flirt with 70 degrees, especially the north end of the valley. Once again, it has everything to do with whether or not that fog clears out. Otherwise, if you're above the fog, you will see some warmer temperatures over the next few days. And I'm talking mainly the upper elevations, especially in the mountains and even some of those foothill locations as well. Rain chances. I know a lot of you are concerned about the fact that we haven't seen much in the way of rain. Good news, semi, right? Because the thing is, yes, there are chances for rain early next week, but I'm not 100% sold that's going to happen. And we'll get into that in our deeper dive forecast here in just a bit. Here is a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Tuesday, December 9th. Well, there it is. Temperatures, upper 30s, low 40s. Actually, a bit cooler in Chico, 39. But there you can see 41 degrees for Redding, 26 for Alturas, 27 Susanville. It's cold up to the north and east, 32 for Mount Shasta City, 52 though in Crescent City, and 43 in Eureka. All right, so out the door this morning. A lot of fog, even for mountain valleys. But again, a lot of that fog will start to burn off. By the way, it's showing sunny skies for Trinity County. I still think there's going to be some fog for you in some of those mountain valleys as well in Trinity County. So there it is. The visibility fairly low for many of us in the valley. By midday, it's showing it kind of burning off even as far south as Red Bluff and Willows, and then eventually by this afternoon and evening, showing it burning off too. But I do expect it'll probably reemerge late tonight and tomorrow morning. So there you can see the storm systems up to our north. See where they're going? That's because high pressure is in place. And it's diverting that energy to our north. And by the way, that's a big stream of moisture, aka Pineapple Express, aimed right at the Pacific Northwest. They're seeing rain as we speak, heavy rainfall at times. There's going to be the potential for mudslides, debris flows, some flooding out there. By the way, snow levels are going to be high with this one because it is coming in from the southwest. It's a warm air mass, keeping those snow levels fairly high. And what's this we see for rainfall chances? By Sunday to Monday, maybe a chance for rain, but look how low it is, 10 to 30%. That's low. And it's not looking like it's going to be significant even if it does rain, at least for the valley. Maybe a little bit more and better chances out along the coast at that time frame. But otherwise, these temperatures, the temperatures are tricky, folks. You're going to see on different apps in different locations, different high temperatures. Because you kind of try to figure out, well, what's it going to be? If it clears out in Redding earlier than noon, I think we could even get into the low 60s. If it takes a little bit longer than expected, it could be more like the low 50s. Chico, same story for you. If it clears out at all, you may get into the low 50s, but for now, I'm just going to keep you under the mostly cloudy skies and gray skies with upper 40s. Otherwise, as you're above the fog, you've got mainly sunny skies. So in the mountains, upper 50s. It's going to be warmer in the mountains most likely than the valley. But again, that's to be expected with this type of trend. And there you can see along the coast, you're seeing that fog, some mist and some drizzle out there, upper 50s to low 60s. Now for tonight, as we'd expect with these foggy conditions, low to mid 40s in the valley. However, in the mountains, you're talking temperatures in the 30s and even some 40s, upper 40s for you along the coast. So here's your 7-day forecast for the valley. Again, here's what I want to show you and illustrate. Redding, I've got you close to 70 degrees for Thursday, Friday. That is if it clears out and we don't see any of that fog on Thursday. However, if it's foggy, all bets are off for upper 60s. It'll be closer to the 50s. And same story for Chico. I've got you in the low 60s for Thursday, Friday, but all bets are off. If that fog doesn't clear out at all, you'll probably be more like the 40s and 50s. So it's going to be tricky as we kind of look through the rest of the week. Fog is a tough one, folks. So even for the day is going to clear out because there are so many factors that can, I guess you could say fog is a fragile thing, right? If you get enough heat and daytime sun to penetrate through that fog, it can evaporate, right? Or if the winds start to blow just a little bit, that can help to scour out that fog. But if it's calm and the lower angle of the sun that we're seeing now this time of the year, it's harder for it to penetrate that fog, so it gets a little tricky. So there you go. It's going to be dry. Now, I don't have any rain for you on Monday. because I'm not sold on it just yet. We've been seeing the forecast models kind of trending back and forth on when the rain is, the intensity of the rain, the works. Take a look at the coast. I think better chances there. So I've got the rain in there for you on Monday, as well as the inland areas and even for Trinity County. Now for Siskiyou, Modoc County, the Eastern Mountains, all right, you've got that chance for rain in there Monday. Now Alturas, Susanville, Eastern Mountains, Modoc County, I'm not putting any rain in there for you because I think most of it will be to the north and west of the valley. But we can't rule out maybe a stray shower for places like Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, and even the valley on Monday. But for now, I'm just not sold that it's going to be much. Take a look at Lake Oroville. There is that dense fog that we are seeing. Can't even see the spillway there, but that's looking out at the spillway. Lake Oroville, North Forebay, looks like a little bit better visibility there, but still some of that fog off in the distance there. Main Street, Chico, looks like decent visibility, but you can clearly see looking down the road there that there is some lowered visibility because of the fog, as well as Highway 99 at Neal Road. You can see the lights, so there is decent visibility, safer conditions as a result, but this is one of those mornings where it looks like it's decent, and then you see lower visibility. You can see Highway 44, Sundial Bridge Drive in Reading. You're seeing some of that fog out there this morning too. So you definitely want to take it slow on your morning commute. Here's a look at Crescent City Harbor District. You can kind of see some of that mist out there. The looks like little bugs flying around. Those are actually raindrops or very small ones, mist and some drizzle that we're seeing out there. This is Bald Hill West. This is looking down at Hoopa Valley, or trying to. It's kind of socked in with that low cloud cover and that fog. This is out looking at Soda Ridge, and you can see kind of some of those mountain valleys. Yeah, you're seeing that fog in those mountain valleys in Siskiyou County. This is out in Fort Jones. Dense fog for you in Etna this morning, Fort Jones, Callahan, all seeing that fog in the Scott Valley region. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Lassen Park. Any snow that we have seen. You can see it looks like there's a little bit of dusting of snow on top of the mountains there, but not a lot of snow on the ground at this point. Hey, by the way, I want to remind you that I do updates on 3 different radio stations. 7:30 in the morning on 104.3 Kate Shasta with Don and Heather in the mornings. We've got 106X with Logan Kane in the morning. At 7:50 in the morning, I do an update with him. These are all approximate times, by the way. And on KQMS, Stephen Clark in the morning on News Talk KQMS. So if you're out and about on the road and you're saying, oh, it's 8:05, I should tune in to KQMS to get that latest forecast from Mike Krueger at Weather NorCal. All right, by the way, I want to remind you that Weather NorCal would not be possible without our sponsors. And the main and primary sponsor of Coffee with Krueger is Wind River Resort and Casino, which they have been the primary sponsor since day one. So grateful for their sponsorship and for their support. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. All right, so here's your headlines. Morning Valley fog with areas of clearing. Again, it's going to be each day from this day all the way through Friday and even this weekend. We've got to watch for that potential for that morning fog for everyone. And each day is going to be different as far as the amount of clearing that we see. So again, it's a very tricky forecast from that aspect. Light rain, drizzle possible along the coast. Warming trend this week. If we see enough clearing in Reading, for example, you could get close to 70. But rain chances possibly by the end of this weekend and early next week. But again, I'm not 100% sold on that solution. All right, so we're going to get into your deeper dive forecast. But before we do that, we've got a sponsor for the deep dive forecast, and that is Shasta Hearing Aids.
Frank, come help with the dishes.
What?
The dishes!
I heard it the first time. I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it.
All right, I want to thank Shasta Hearing Aids for their support as well. We couldn't do this without our sponsors, so we're very grateful for them. Be sure to tell Gabe I sent you. Gabe is a great guy. He's the owner over there at Shasta Hearing Aids, and what they do over there is very, very impressive. So if you have a hearing issue, I highly recommend even just going there. checking your hearing and seeing what they can do for you. It's amazing what they do over there. All right, temperatures right now, temperatures in the low 40s, 41 degrees for Redding, 41 for Willows, as well as Oroville. Again, that fog is keeping those temperatures fairly uniform in the valley, where we've got those temperatures in the 20s and 30s for the higher elevations, 40s and 50s out along the coast. So we look at the visibility, yeah, we've got the fog along the coast, and there's going to be that fog for many of those mountain valleys, and not to mention along the coast as well. So this is really going to focus on where that fog is in the valley. Now, if we take a look at our HRRR forecast model, it does by noon want to really bring down that fog out of here, even for places like Willows and possibly even Chico. Maybe a bit hard pressed, but if we can get those winds to maybe churn things up a little bit, that may help. Then we go into tonight. Look what happens. You see the fog working its way, especially into Butte and Glenn counties. And I think later tonight, that'll be working its way northward into places like Red Bluff and Redding. And then just kind of, again, that carbon copy. Could we see some of that clearing tomorrow afternoon? We'll see. But the winds, that's the key. Look at the winds right now. I mean, very calm, 1 to even 3 miles per hour. That's not enough to really scour out that fog. So we take a look at the forecast winds. We start getting, closer to 10 miles per hour, and even just a little bit below that, we can start to scour out some of that fog. So there you can see borderline in there, right? So most likely seeing that fog across the region Wednesday morning, and then we go into your Thursday morning. Again, borderline, maybe a little bit stronger winds for Red Bluff, but that might be overdoing it. We'll see. And then going into Thursday afternoon, fairly calm winds. So we talk about that, right? You've got to have the moisture at the surface. You've got to have the calm winds, and that's really going to help to support that fog to really stick around. All right, so big picture, high pressure, we talked about it. The high pressure is another determining factor about that fog. We've got that very calm air. The air is sinking, the colder air sinking into the valley, the warmer air above that. You get those temperature inversions where the warm air above the colder air, that is also helping to kind of cap and really just kind of put a top right on top of that fog and prevent it from really kind of moving on out as well. So once again, you got to get that wind to start blowing to scour out the fog. You've got to get that sun to get in there to penetrate it, to help evaporate that fog away. It also has a hard time this time of the year because instead of a high angle of the sun going right down in that fog that can really penetrate that fog as a result, when you have a lower angle of the sun, so yeah, the angle's here, and it's taking longer for those rays to get there, has a harder time penetrating that fog. But it still can in some cases, like yesterday in Redding area. But that high pressure is also diverting all of this moisture and these storm systems to our north. So we've got a very impressive plume of moisture that's heading straight for the Pacific Northwest. People call it a pineapple express. It's warm subtropical air, and that's going to bring some heavy rainfall. You may have seen on social media and different outlets but talking about that heavy rainfall potentially for today, tomorrow, as that plume of moisture really is aimed at the Pacific Northwest. They're talking about the potential for some mudslides, debris flows, heavy rainfall, and high snow levels too, because again, it's coming from the subtropics. It is a warmer air mass that's moving on in. So you can clearly see that stream of moisture heading right for the Pacific Northwest. And unfortunately for us, we're to the south of it, and that's why we are remaining dry. But those high snow levels, mostly heavy rain, which will be leading to high river levels and, of course, the landslide concerns here. But we have a more narrow band off to the east, and that's going to mean probably the influence of that rain may be a little bit slimmer as you start heading eastward. And, of course, no rain for us, as I mentioned. So we look at the next 3 days, that high pressure, again, is that dominant feature over us. It doesn't move much. High pressure still in place on Wednesday and Thursday, and most likely even going into the weekend. But this is a little glimmer of hope that we might start to see some changes in that weather pattern towards the middle and latter part of this month. But I'm going to say this, there are no guarantees on that just yet. I have over the last week seen the rain come in as early as the 12th to 13th. Now it's pushing it back to the 15th, and we may be pushing it back farther than that. It just depends. We're going to have to wait and see if we can start to see some more consistency in those long-range forecast models. But in the meantime, above normal temperatures, and I say this if you're above the fog, right? If there's fog over you and you're in that fog, you're not going to see those above normal temperatures. And of course, I'm referencing the fog that we're seeing in that main Sacramento Valley, right? If we can get that fog to evaporate, then we can get temperatures close to 70. But if that fog sticks around, it's more like the 40s, 50s, maybe some low 60s in there as well. So we're taking a look at that 10-day trend. These are numbers that are going to be adjusted over the next few days, simply because we're going to have to watch for that potential for fog each and every single day, even through the weekend. There's a dip in the temperatures, kind of a sign of a little bit of that change coming in by Monday. Now, the thing is, it looks like we've got that rain possibly coming in on Monday, and then maybe a bit of a break again after that. So even if we do see that rain early next week, it doesn't look to last for very long. So there you can see your lake levels. We are actually seeing them drop a little bit for Lake Shasta as well as Oroville, but a minor increase, really not much change here for Trinity Lake. But overall, we're still doing pretty well with our historical averages. Looking at the wave heights, they aren't changing much over the next couple of days either. Shouldn't be that much of a concern for those of you that need to be on small boats, but there will be foggy and misty and drizzly conditions out there with those winds from the southeast at about 5 knots and your waves from the northwest at 7 feet at about 12 seconds. All right, so here is a look at your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. We've got those temperatures in the low 60s. Now, there's going to be some fog for some of those mountain valleys, but I do think that will burn off here pretty quickly through the morning hours, and it looks like cooler with that chance for rain by Monday. Now, I think the best chances for rain as we do go into Monday will be in Trinity County, westward, even for parts of the North Coast, even for southern Humboldt County. 66 degrees, though, today in Garberville. You're going to be looking at some of that fog in even some of the inland areas, and some of that fog will also potentially bring in some of that mist and drizzle that we're going to see out there as well. 63 degrees for Ferndale. Take you up north, 64 degrees in Blue Lake, 64 out in Willow Creek. Don't mind the printer. It's here in the studio. I got to print out a few things in there. 61 degrees out towards McKinleyville, 63 degrees in Hoopa, 64 degrees in Willow Creek. All right, let's take you up to the north. Whew, that's an annoying sound. 57 degrees for Gasquet, 62 degrees for Orleans, and 61 degrees for Smith River. All right, we take you out to Central and Siskiyou County. There's a look at Wairika. There you can see those temperatures in the mid-50s here as you take you to the I-5 corridor there, and out towards Highway 96, temperatures in the 50s as well. 58 degrees for Etna, 57 in Fort Jones and Callahan, about 58 degrees. And take you to Central and Eastern Siskiyou County. Of course, we're looking at dry conditions here, but again, maybe that chance for showers by Monday. Slimmer chances as you head eastward. So Modoc County, I don't have any rain for you on Monday, but of course, we'll have to kind of wait and see what that pattern brings and if there's going to be more consistency in the long range, because I'm also keeping it dry for places like Bernie on Monday. But there you can see out towards Lake Elmonor and Lassen Park. Temperatures generally in the 50s for those daytime highs, 60 degrees for Mineral, 52 degrees for Paradise, and 59 degrees in Doyle. All right, let's take a look at your valley neighborhood forecast to the south. Look at the temperatures only reaching the upper 40s, and that's because that fog is going to stick around longer, if not stick around all day. May not even see any breaks in those clouds at all, and that's why I've got those overcast skies for you in Chico. Now again, I'm going to be adjusting not only the sky conditions for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but also the temperatures. Those temperatures may not get quite reach the low 60s Thursday, Friday. Again, it depends on how dense that fog is and if we can get it to clear out at all. All right, we take you up to the north, and I've got you mostly cloudy. I think eventually we may see some clearing to the north end of the valley, much like what we saw yesterday, and even Red Bluff may see some clearing as well. We take a look at that 7-day forecast for Redding. If we can get enough clearing for places like Redding on Thursday, that could be meaning that could mean that is temperatures somewhere in the upper 60s, maybe even around 70. That's that warming trend I was talking about. So if you're above that fog, you will see warmer temperatures anyway. You look at it in the mountains especially. And then temperatures do start to drop. And I've got you under mostly cloudy skies on Monday for Redding, but no rain coming from those clouds just yet. We're going to have to kind of wait and see what happens with that, because again, I'm just not sold that it's going to rain on Monday just yet. We've got to wait to see what's happening with those long-range forecast models, and as we get closer to early next week, we may start to see a little bit more consistency in there. Let's check in with some of you this morning. The first to check in this morning was our friend Lisa Stevens, saying good morning all and have a terrific Tuesday. We've got Bill Carlton checking in this morning. Say good morning, Mike, and have a great day. Good morning to you, Bill. I hope you have yourselves a great day. We've got Ruth Sanchez saying good morning, and we've got Curtis Brown, one of our regulars, saying good morning, Mike. Really tired of this fog and cold. I agree. I think anybody who's been dealing with it. I mean, even when I was in Tennessee on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was overcast there all day. It was kind of misty and drizzly, and temperatures were generally in the upper 30s. It was actually colder there. But in the 30s every morning. The fog has been so heavy. He actually looks like he measured 200ths of an inch of rain 2 days ago. So again, sometimes this fog can get dense enough that you actually do see some measurable precipitation as a result. And you know, we talk about this, and this is especially, we call this Thule fog. You may have heard that term before. It's essentially just another name for what's known as radiation fog. It has nothing to do with radiation or atomic bombs or anything like that. It's basically the radiative heat that we see through the day that radiates off into space, and we cool off as a result. But it's named Thule fog after the tall grasses in the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys in that area, and that's why it gets that name. But from an agricultural standpoint, this fog has been very beneficial because that rain, it creates a very moist atmosphere of moist conditions and is very beneficial to a lot of the crops out in this Sacramento and into the San Joaquin Valley. So it's very interesting from that standpoint. And it's not unusual for places like the San Joaquin Valley to see this every year. It doesn't typically make its way this far north, at least over the last several years. So we've actually seen just these prime conditions. And a lot of people have been asking, why are we getting so much fog? We've just been looking at prime conditions. Number one, remember all of the fog. Remember all of the rain that we saw in November above normal, right? So that really put a lot of, saturated the ground. That's moisture at the surface. That's the moisture source you need for that fog to develop. And as a result, you see the fog. Now, it's also been very calm winds. That high pressure has been very persistent. It's sinking air. You need that air sinking. That colder air sinks down to the valley and just settles in there. And you have warmer air above that. It's known as a temperature inversion. So the valley itself acts like a bowl, and it just really holds in all of that colder air and that fog, and it takes a bit to kind of mix it out. Lower angle of the sun means it's not going to penetrate that fog as much, so it's harder for that fog to evaporate, although it did for Redding yesterday. And what we need is a bit of a wind or a storm to push through to really just push and scour all that fog out. But that's going to be hard to do here over the next several days. So kind of interesting. Kind of interesting indeed. All right, so we had a good morning from Jackie Dixon in Trinidad. Well, that's going to do it for us this morning, folks. I hope you had yourselves a great Monday. I hope you have yourselves a great Tuesday as well. We're going to leave you with a couple of great shots here. As you can see here, a beautiful shot, Soda Ridge, looking out at Mount Shasta. We'll take a look at some other great cameras in the meantime. As I mentioned, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.